All right, go.
We had a wonderful, dedicated teacher who loved her students. Mrs. Donnelly drove 20 miles to school and back from Charleston every day, even when she was sick. I don't recall ever her being absent. She found a potential in every single student, even the slowest ones. With learning problems. She put me in charge of drawing pictures. And she would trace them with the sticky gum machine that picked out the picture I drew, and she would give it to the little children to color. Mm-hmm. And that's when I became a graphic artist for 50, 60 years. In 1942, my mother became ill, and I remember so well when Dad called us into the living room at our house to tell us with tears falling down his cheek. Mom was going to die. After a lengthy stay in the hospital where she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, she needed to be taken care of. So Dad was forced to leave the old house and go into his mother's house and take Mom with him. Dad continued taking care of us and the farm while spending hours at her side. After long years of suffering, Mom died in 1946 when she was 36. I'm sorry about the emotion.
Understandable. That's very young age to die. What did your dad do?
Just a farmer, just a farmer. And then he sold insurance when he moved back to town. So he used his knowing numbers real good to sell insurance with it. Dad was heartbroken and no longer had the strength to deal with the farm. He rented it out and moved Patricia, himself, and me back to his mother's house. At 16, I went to live with Dad's sister, Violet. There was another Violet. She became my second mother, and I lived with her until I joined the Army at the age of 17. I spent 2 years as a soldier, leaving the rank of first sergeant when I returned to Charleston in 1949. I worked at a cement block factory until June 1950 when the Korean War broke out. I was recalled and given the choice of Army, Navy, or Air Force. I chose the U.S. Air Force and was sent back to SAC in Sacramento, California. SAC was the Navy base, or Air Force base. When I returned home from the Air Force, I met a beautiful girl named Susan. We dated for a short time and then married. She was a member of the Mormon Church. That you were, they never just said, are you LDS? And are you a Mormon? Or I was somewhat familiar with the church since most of the farmers and their families all belonged to the church, were Mormon. I remember Mom and Dad letting us go to the primary because we often went to the functions and were available as children to go to primary. And that's all it starts with the church thing.
Okay.